It's Ryan Ham, and the subject of today's video is my 2245 Lite made by Ruger. It is a Mark III model. What I'd like to do is go over the basic layout and features of the gun and some initial criticisms. Then I'll wrap the video up and I'll have other follow-up videos. And you'll see why I'm not doing a full review right off the bat. So the 2245 Lite is a model that was introduced a couple of years back with the introduction of the Mark III series. And what a Mark III is essentially all versions, including the steel-framed versions, have the magazine button here. The Mark III has the loaded chamber indicator that sticks out the side, and it's also got a magazine safety on the inside. And I do not know if the steel frame versions have this, but my plastic frame version has this. It's a little hole then that when you put the safety on, you can insert a key and you can lock the gun up to where it won't come off safety. That means the gun will not fire. I prefer not to do that because, as we all know, children hate keys, and children will never find keys or try to use them on a gun, so we know this is super safe. The magazine itself is very similar, except they've got the magazine catch sticking out the side here, whereas on the original, the standard models in the Mark II model, they were held on by the bottom. The original 2245 had a similar magazine catch on the side, magazine button, but of course it did not have the loaded chamber indicator, and it did not have the magazine safety or this key safety here. This particular model has a threaded barrel. And the nice thing about the threaded barrels, I have a suppressor. If you do not have a suppressor, you can also put muzzle brakes or any kind of flash hider or any kind of other device you want. Having a threaded barrel is actually convenient for Ruger as well, because the barrel itself is steel. That's that little stainless steel colored sleeve on the inside. And what it does is they've got this lock ring here that locks it to the aluminum frame. And that's very convenient for them from a manufacturing standpoint. But it also works great for us folks who live in free states and can afford to purchase suppressors and shoot quietly, not make the neighbors angry. Okay, so that's the gun, 10-round magazine. That's the same as the original Mark II. In fact, very similar in most ways. The only difference being this little projection down here that makes up for the difference in size of the base of the magazine. This is meant, the 2245 was meant to mimic a 1911 on the grip frame. So when you put the magazine in, it's at a different weird angle. It actually sits at an angle like this in the gun. And the reason it does that is because the original grip frame on the Ruger Mark II was highly raked, and on the other Mark IIIs it's also highly raked, the steel frames. Whereas they were trying to adapt this as a training device. So it's a compromise. When you insert the magazine, you've got to kind of push forward to get it to latch. So now that you've seen the basic features of the 2245 Lite, my initial impressions are I like the way the gun feels, I like where all the controls are, the magazine release, the slide release, the safety, those are all familiar to anybody who's ever handled the 1911. I like the sights, it's got adjustable rear and fixed front sights. Don't know if you could see that very well. Maybe you can. Adjustable rear, fixed front sights, and like all other Ruger standard Mark I, Mark II, and 2245 Mark III variants, it's got this funky disassembly system back here. But I'm not going to be too critical of that system. I will be critical of other things on the 2245. The main thing that I dislike about it is the magazine safety. Now, there are ways of disabling the magazine safety, and I can go into that at another time, but I do not like the magazine safety. I will be taking it out in a future video. You can do it for free if you know how to modify the original part, and I will show you how to do that, but I will also show you the way I'm going to end up doing it with the bushing. So the other thing that's kind of annoying is the loaded chamber indicator, the jam inducer, and I'm also going to disable that, and I'll show you how to do that. I did notice one huge flaw, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take apart the gun and I'm going to show you that. Okay, that took me about 30 seconds to do. I also don't want to do it in front of the camera because I'm reaching around this darn thing. Okay, so let me show you where I'm going to criticize the gun. Do you see the trigger? See how far the trigger is moving side to side? That is not good. It's just disconcerting. You see that gap there? Right there? And watch that close up as I move the trigger to the side. And then you can move the trigger bar back in. So all that extra wobble makes for a sloppy trigger. And this hole is approximately 158 to 159. And this hole here is approximately 163 to 166, somewhere in that range, because I don't have exact, by the thousandth gauges, 0.166. So what I intend to do is I intend to get a drill bit that's the right size, that cleans up this hole completely, to drill all the way through. I'll take the components out, I'll drill all the way through, and I'll make sure I get all of the trigger and the slide stop and all of those components drilled all the way through so everything will fit. And then I've got a shim pack that I'm going to fill the space in. Okay, we're back with my shims. Those are 3/1000 thick, and if you look at the number there, I believe if you look that number up on Amazon, they're like 25 in there, and they were like less than $10. So they're very, very thin. They might be a little bit oversized in the end, which I don't care too much about because they aren't gonna cause any noise or rattling or anything like that. But I want to leave about 2 to 3/1000 of room in there, side to side play, just so everything works. One other thing that should clear up is it should clear up. I hate that. It should clear up my slide stop. If you pull the slide stop out and wiggle it around, you can see there's a ton of play in that. And it should clean that up. The combination of drilling the hole to the right size and cutting off the drill bit and using the drill bit itself, the shank of the drill bit itself as the pin, and I'm going to cut a little groove in it so that you've got retention on here. And I'll demonstrate all that in a future video. On the positive side, the trigger pull itself, once you just make up for all the slack, is excellent. And anyways, the way I'm going to modify the magazine disconnect is I'm going to shave it off and essentially cut it off from here down on this front, and then there's a little wing that comes in back here. There you go, that little wing right there. That's going to come off, and I'm going to remove the spring and everything. It'll turn the magazine disconnect into a just a washer. And I wanted to show you could do it for free. You don't have to have anything fancy. So this is Ryan Ham. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the first of several on the Ruger 2245 Lite. If you did enjoy, click on a favorite and watch some of my other videos, and stay tuned for new upcoming videos by subscribing. Bye.